Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I typically do reviews or reactions to things on the news, politics, things like that. I was unable to do a review last week because I watched the episode kind of late, and I just felt like me putting a review up would be kind of late as well too. So I'm doing a review on tonight's episode. I have my notes to my side, so if you see me looking over, that's just me trying to go in chronological order so I don't miss anything. So tonight's episode, they kind of were centering and circling around the main focus, that is their 1 month anniversary for all the couples, and that they ultimately have 4 weeks until they decide whether they want to get divorced or stay together. First, we see Clara and Ryan at Ryan's place. She is slowly but surely starting to move into his place, and I'm like, Lord, y'all need to get to the love aspect, because he keeps saying it. It's probably said about 3 times now how he's never said I love you to someone, which is fine. But he just says it over and over and over, and it's kind of interesting because the other couples are at different places in the sense of love and sex and stuff, and they're just very much behind. I mean, obviously there's other couples who are further behind, Haley and Jacob, but it's just moving in together, and you guys still have a lot of steps to at least get to a real relationship. I don't know, still really kind of debatable to me. But it's just also the lack of sex on Clara's end, because Ryan seems to think it's okay that the pace that they're going, and she's just not on the same page about that. And she's like, I need that. And he's like, I'm not comfortable yet, and I need to get to that. And Ryan's face during every conversation with Clara is always so awkward. She's talking, he's always I don't want to say, I say he's disinterested, but also just tuning out, not listening. I'm like, they just need to be more vocal. I know that people are not compatible. I know that not everyone's meant to be together, but he hasn't been vocal about that. And it's kind of yeah, we're good. But I'm are you good? Because your face says otherwise. Next, we see Paige and Chris meet up to play basketball. And yeah, last week, Chris had revealed to Paige that he got the mother of his child a brand new Mercedes. And he had the audacity to do that while giving her a bucket of chicken, which is I can't even compare the price of that. It's food versus a brand new Mercedes for someone you're not with, but you're married. And so Paige was saying that that's still on her mind. It's still a big factor. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, that's a big factor. It's you don't even need to go into it to understand that it's just not okay. And it's just very weird, even though he gave his spiel about rideshare and her safety and the future child that he's gonna have, that safety. And Paige says she's still thinking about it. And I'm I just don't understand. It just doesn't make sense to me. And they have a little conversation about their session just in general. And Paige asked him about how he was engaged twice. The pastor that he was friends with prior to this marriage revealed that to her episodes ago. And she's finally getting a chance to ask him about it. And he's talking about it a little bit. But when she had another question to have, he's I don't want to talk about that. I'm this man is too secretive. They shouldn't even got to this point. There were so many red flags. I mean, obviously, it's an understatement of the year, but there were just so many red flags that happened with him that she should have left a long time ago, but she kept going back, and I don't know why, besides trying to trust the process and everything, but it's just she should have been left a long time ago. After the commercial break, we see Virginia and Eric on a double date with Clara and Ryan. Virginia and Eric are being lovey-dovey as usual, and they admit to Ryan and Claire that they've said I love you to each other, and Clara's face was on my thumbnail. And it just was awkward. And during her confessional, she was mad petty. She's yeah, I'm happy for them. Or I think she said I'm not happy for them. I think whichever one. Regardless if she said she was happy for them, she was being sarcastic because she's just comparing herself to them. And that's what kind of sucks for that couple, as well as Haley and Jacob. They're continually comparing themselves to other relationships like Brianna and Vincent, who are obviously amazing, and Virginia and Eric, who seem amazing on the surface. They obviously still have a lot of rooted problems, but visually it seems like things are good for them. And it's just so awkward because even at the table, Clara was if a guy doesn't say I love you within 6 months, she's ready to dip out of a relationship. I'm good opinion. That's your own personal opinion. Be true to yourself, but to say it in front of another couple and to say it in front of the man who's your husband, and you guys aren't progressing that much, it's almost I don't say it's rushing him, but it's just awkward. She knows it is. There's one thing about being bold, being bold and causing that tension, unnecessary tension, is just not needed, especially with their relationship. She just has a lot of resentment for their progress compared to others. And I'm I don't know what's going to be the fate of their relationship. Haley, Paige, and Brianna meet up for food, and they're giving each other details about each other's relationships. Brianna's the only positive story because obviously her and Vincent are amazing. I know that they've had really arguments. I don't really want to get into that, but if you've been watching the show, they've had really rough moments, but their good moments make me forget about it a little bit, because every relationship there are ups and downs. It's not always rainbows and perfect. So that's them at this moment, although sometimes they pop off a little bit too much. But in comparison to Haley's relationship and Brianna's or Paige's lack of relationship, yeah, she's pretty up there in tears and stuff. Haley said her progression with Jacob was finally like going up because they started to sleep in the same bed. And I'm like, that's progress. You guys live in the same house and it's been a month and you had a honeymoon and this, and like you're sleeping in the same bed is progress. But we'll get into Haley and Jake a little bit more, but I'm like, okay. Paige told her story about Chris buying the car, and I just blacked out. I was like, I didn't want to rehear the details for the third time. I was just getting secondhand embarrassment for her. It's just like, no one should have to go through that, especially on public TV. And we saw it play out, and there's not even like he held her to have to go through this relationship. Like there was a lot of times when she could have opted out. There was times when he ended it and she begged, I don't want to say she begged him to come back, but you know what I'm saying? Like he had a lot of times to opt out, and here we are. So the conversation was just very yikes, because Haley and Brianna gave their advice saying like, yeah, like this man is, I'll say he's using you, but like he's just not considerate of your feelings. And like, it's very apparent, but yet she still keeps going back to the man for whatever reason. On day 30 of marriage for each of the couples, this is what occurred. A tarot reader came to Haley and Jacob on Haley's request to read the energy of their presumed connection. The reader said that Haley wants to take control of the relationship, and I can kind of see that. Like, everything is progressing on her terms specifically, whereas like, you know, like Clara and Ryan's on Brian's terms. So like this specifically is Haley's, and that's what's kind of holding back Jacob. Like, I think they don't kiss, they don't really hug, they're not intimate ever since like the first week or first couple days. Like everything is going by with her, and he's like, I don't even know how to gauge how to interact with you because you're so closed off. And it's like, she's like, I want to do it when I'm ready. And it's like, yeah, when she's ready is when things can progress, but if she's never ready, then what can they do to really salvage the relationship? But according to the cards, they are compatible, even though Haley still questions it. She was kind of like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And she's trying to be positive, but like there's only so much positivity you can have or give if it's not working. Next, we see Virginia and Eric, and they're having a picnic, and they eventually start to talk about everyone else's relationship. Virginia was shocked about Clara wanting to move into Ryan's place, like I was as well too. And she said that she doesn't want to move into Eric's place, and he said he doesn't want to move into her place. So when they broke it down, Eric owns a house Virginia is renting, and she has animals. The thing is that they have their animals, and she has a cat, and I remember him saying he's allergic to cats. That is a big deal breaker, and I doubt he's telling her to get rid of the cats. He didn't even say that in an argument, but like that is something that they have to sort out as a married couple. But then he was like, we need to move into my place. And she's like, no, I don't want to move into your place. Like, if I move into your place, I feel like I'm living in your place when I want it to feel like our place. Like, I want us to get a place together. He's like, we're not at the place for that. Like, you need to move into one place together. Sorry, my bad. You need to move into one place together in order to even like, I guess, start looking for a place. Like, that doesn't make sense to live separately as a married couple and then look for a house, especially when he owns one too. And like, he did say that. He's like, I own, you rent. So like, it makes the most sense to live with me. And she was just like, the only compromise is us getting our place together. I'm just like, this is why I said that they look good on the surface versus like the actual arguments that they go through. Not saying that people perceive that they wouldn't have arguments, but to Clara and Ryan, they probably think that they're amazing, but obviously they're not. Next, we see Paige and Chris meet up to play pool. Paige was chilling in a crop top, which is fine, but why did Chris pull up in a whole ass suit and he didn't tell her he was dressing up nice? Because she was like, oh, like you never tell me the dress code. I'm like, yeah, the man's always dressed dapper. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like dapper into the nines, and then Paige just never gets the hint, or maybe vice versa. I'm like, you guys need to coordinate a little bit, but obviously, you know, they're very out of sync with each other. It's been a dysfunctional, it's not even been a relationship. I'm not gonna call it a relationship. It's never been a relationship, but like, I don't know. And it was never bound to be great with them because this is where the conversation led. Chris is questioning Paige wanting consistency in communication, but complained about her not answering his phone calls. Okay, then text her. You're married essentially, and you guys have kind of opened up to each other in a little bit. I know there's still things they don't know about each other. Like, it's only been a month, even though they haven't been together the entirety of the month. But if someone doesn't answer, you can be like, hey, text me back later, or leave a voicemail. But she's basically saying he didn't do that. I'm like, why didn't you text? He's like, well, I've called you so many times, so like, why didn't you just text me? And it's like, I feel like there wasn't even a valid argument. I think they were just arguing to argue from Chris's perspective, or either of them. I just don't get it. I just think he was trying to find a reason, just like everything else, to just end it, which is what happened. He is like, I don't feel a connection with you. And she broke down crying, like, you didn't know this just now. You knew that you didn't have a connection. Like, it was very clear, and you were forcing it. You said, when you guys were at the altar. Like, I'm not saying that was a month ago. Times have changed. They've had sex and stuff. But like, he knew they didn't have a connection. It didn't take just now for that to happen. He should have told her sooner. I don't know if she thought that he thought they had one, and then telling her that then is what broke it to her. But like, it's been over for a long time. I don't really, it's stress. I've seen a lot of things saying that they've been together due to a big fine and stuff, or they stayed together due to a fine if they leave the show early. I don't know, but it's just really hard to watch them on TV. It's not even entertaining, it's just difficult. But then all the couples, excluding Paige and Chris, get to their 1 month anniversary. Vincent surprised Paige with a date on a boat and watching their wedding on a screen. And I'm like, my God, this man is so happy with her. Like, he was cheesing. The man was cheesing like happiness. And after they watched it, they went up to the deck and had like a nice ass dinner on top of the boat. I realize though, every episode I have the least notes to say about them except for their one-off arguments, because they're good. They don't get that much screen time because they're not drama. Like, they're just a good, healthy relationship. Again, I keep saying besides the argument, but that's just true, because like, if they're not drama, they're not gonna get a lot of screen time, if that makes sense. So like, they're just not on the screen that often, because I just feel like things are good with them or else they'd show it. And like, that's why their little date was probably like the shortest out of all of them, although it was the sweetest. Next, we see Haley and Jacob, and they went to a winery. Side comment, this is one of the few times of the entire season that I remember seeing someone wearing a mask. I think I remember seeing it with producers when they had to step in for Paige and Chris, but like, it was just something that was like, oh wow. Their conversation was actually wholesome, and they had so much growth in the past episodes. They went through a basket that had momentum of their relationship and like what happened during their wedding ceremony. When I wrote that, I was like, oh my God, things are going good. And I was like, things took a left when Jacob was like, how did we get here after watching their wedding ceremony? Because things were so good during the wedding ceremony, and they can't even hug. They can't kiss. She won't let him hold her hand. Like, they barely started sleeping in the same bed. So they have gone so far back from where they were. And he is just like also mentioning that when he watched the kiss, or he remembered them kissing during the wedding, that she kind of pulled back a little bit, and he just doesn't feel like she's attracted to him. He doesn't feel wanted, which is what you need in a relationship. And she's just not there. And it's like wasting both their times. There's been multiple times where he asked her, not producers, that woman who kind of narrates sometimes, if she's physically attracted. And she's like, it's not that it's a yes or no, Haley. Yes or no. But it's always like a round answer. And I'm like, just be open with him so you guys could have ended this sooner. And he also was open and said that he doesn't know how to approach making a connection with her. He's like, I just don't know what to do to help this. I don't know how to talk with you. I don't know how to like make us move forward, because like, you're so close off. Like, I don't even know how to do that. And eventually he's like, we're not gonna be together in 4 weeks, because that's what the deadline is, or like the cutoff. And she's like, well, why are we wasting our time? She started crying. She's like, I don't want you to have to feel like this. But I'm like, but he does. I don't know if you thought he was gonna sit here on his like toes. I don't know how the saying is, like waiting while you guys weren't doing anything, but you're Haley, yo. I think she did try, obviously, in the beginning, but then it just was like a crash. And just since then, they just have not progressed, and they've kind of just been wasting each other's times, or she's been wasting his time. I don't really know how to put the blame on it. But besides them, we're gonna move on. We see Virginia and Eric go to playing hangers, and since that's his occupation, his career, his passion, like that's what he planned out for them, obviously. And we see them throwing through a memento box, which was kind of similar to Haley and Jacob's, and it had Eric's vows typed out in a picture frame, and he took her flying. I was like, wow, that's so crazy. I'd be so scared, because it's just like a small little jet. But again, he does that professionally, so that's his thing, so you kind of hope he's good at it. Next, we also see Clara and Ryan go on a helicopter ride together. When they were waiting in the lobby to go on the helicopter ride, he called her pal. He's like, thank you, pal. I said, who? Who? And then struggled to tell her what the highlights of their marriage was, because she asked him. She's like, so, like trying to fill the silence. She's like, so, like, what was the highlight to your marriage? And he was like, just spending the time together. I said, okay, boy, let's wrap this up. Like, this is not working, obviously. What is next? So I'm gonna go in order. And I just don't understand the relationship. It's just platonic. I've been saying this. I stand by it. Like, they had dinner in his backyard. It was silent. Every conversation they have is silent. If it's one person talking, the other person's looking the other way. If she's talking, he's like, it's just not working, and it's been not working. I don't know if the sex was like what let me know that they weren't working. It's just the way that they interact on camera, and I can only imagine when they're not on camera, it's probably even worse. Paige, we see Paige reflecting on the failed marriage by herself. And I just don't understand why the show filmed this. Like, this was so painful to watch, and they should have just let her be and have the pain by herself, like hurt in private. It didn't need to make, like, it was just sad. And yeah, they just didn't make it to the 1 month mark. I'm curious if they have a reunion for this, because it's just gonna be chaotic. I feel like watching this back for any of them. The last scene of the episode, or I thought it was, sorry. We see Virginia and Eric having dinner in the hangar. Eric gives her like the GPS coordination where they first met, obviously the altar, and like you see the coordinates like in a frame, which is kind of just like, I don't know what that is. And eventually he's like, oh, that's where we met, and like she just couldn't decipher, but it was cute. It was cute that he did that. And the last scene, because at first I thought it was the last scene before this came up, we flash to see Ryan and Clara watching their wedding ceremony back, and Clara made a comment saying that she felt like he wrote his vows for someone else. And I don't know why, I could see that, like the way he was saying like, I'm so happy, this and this, like it seemed like he was talking to another person, or he was just kind of like imaginary saying it, because obviously that's the point, like no one knew who they were gonna marry prior to it. But the way that the words came across are just so different from where they are in the relationship currently, so it just doesn't make sense. The place doesn't add up, their relationship doesn't add up, the fact of where they're at in the relationship is just off. So, woof, this was an episode. This show was crazy. Again, I'm excited to see on Matchables they had a commercial for this, or for that show. So let me know if you guys are going to watch it. Let me know what you thought of this review. Let me know if you guys want me to continue doing them. But yeah, see you in the next video. Bye!